Yeah, thank you, Victor. ActionAid Nigeria, we've been talking about this, so the tax is not new. The federal government was clear, it's in the new tax act that has been signed into law, recently gazetted, but will take effect from January. However, the 5% component would only take effect as soon as the Minister of Finance pronounces that, and or he has the latitude to start that in January. So why people are scared, worried is because of the impact of other things that has happened in the economy since this current administration, the current president's administration, President Tinubu's administration, came um, into power, which was in May 2 years ago. And the first day the president made a pronouncement, subsidy is gone. So since then, there have been several things: the devaluation of the naira, or the flotation of the naira, the various taxes and levies, electricity, gas. Several things have been happening around the economy, and all of these have been affecting the poorest of the poor the most. SMEs have been complaining. They're paying more bills, paying more taxes. Even the big companies have been complaining as well. Imagine petroleum moving from 195 naira then to 950 naira, where we are currently. So that's a huge leap, and those have got implication. So if you currently petrol is 195, you add another 5%. Petrol was moved from 195 to now 950. So if you add another 5%, you are getting close to 1,000. So petrol now going for 1,000 and maybe more, depends on the price of crude in the international market, which is not determined solely by Nigeria. That would have more impact in the economy and in the lives of the people. Petroleum is a perfectly inelastic produce. What it means is that a shift in the price, any alteration of the price, has a direct impact. Consumers don't have so much alternative; they will still go for it. And if they go for it, the price will go up. It will affect the consumers directly, and the consumers will transfer that price in all the things that they do, from to your tomatoes, to your rice, to your rent, to your transport. So all of those will be directly affected, and it will then, of course, affect inflation. It will affect the cost of living, and Nigerians have not gotten out of the woods yet. With the current reform that the current government is doing, some of the things are said to be working. So, with the GDP, for instance, was rebased. So we're seeing the GDP has improved, yeah, right? That's rebasing of the GDP. We are seeing that inflation is beginning to reduce gradually. It's not that there's no inflation. I think Nigeria should get that right. So there's inflation, but it's reducing. The rate of the inflation is reducing gradually. We are beginning to see some things at the macro level, but at the micro level, the impact has not started showing yet. Prices of things, recently, of course, we imported lots of food produce into the country, and prices of food produce, some of them are beginning to come down, while some of them are going up. But the micro level, the everyday Nigerian, has not started feeling the impact of the government yet. It takes time. So if the macro level, the bigger level, the big economy is working, we then need to translate to the micro level. And if you do not then wait for it to translate to the micro level, you then go ahead to increase this 5%. It would increase the burden on the micro level, the community, the people, the poor persons in the community, and it will then further delay the impact that people are supposed to feel. Nigerians are complaining. If you listen to radio, you listen to TV, I'm sure the president knows it. The president says he listens to them. He hears the cries of Nigerians. If you go to the community, so it's not just about wailing. These are practical communities. Actually, we work in several communities across the 36 states in this country. And the communities we work in, and most of them are in the hard to reach communities that we work in. And these communities, people are complaining on a daily basis. The calls you get, the call for urgent 2K support here and there. So all of those, putting this 5% at this time, right here and now, would definitely not do us any good. And that's why organized groups are coming on board and now beginning to talk about it. So you have the trade unions already coming on board and threatening strike. So I don't think the government needs to wait to get to this level of strike before they will back down on that. If I were them, election is around the corner. you have oppositions that are coming up. This will be a strong tool for the opposition to use against them. So that is why people are talking about it, and the government ought to listen.
But then again, people have argued that these things were in the provision during the engagement, public engagement, town hall meetings, and invite by the National Assembly. Why was it that nobody saw it, or even the civil society didn't see it, or they thought it was not relevant at that point in time?
Combine and pull together. So it is easy to mix up or miss that one out. So it was easy for the people to overlook or not to have noticed that until somebody went in and of course started bringing out there are several implications of the Tax Act. So the narrative is that, oh, the poor persons will pay less tax. That's the narrative. So if you make less than 50 million naira as an SME, you will not pay tax. If you earn less than 800,000 naira per annum, you will not pay tax. So those were the narratives that were pushed forward. So Nigerians ordinarily were like, what percentage of Nigerians, over 90% of Nigerians that fall into that bracket that would benefit from it. Of course, they were happy. However, there were some other things like this 5%. It is not new per se. We've had this existing. The FEMA Act has been existing, but they are now trying to bring it and give it life. And we know that this tax act, the president of our current president is a tax guru. So he's going to implement it. So we are saying that, however, the latitude with that is that it says that until the minister gives it effect. So we're hoping that the Minister of Finance would put a pause, a pause. We're not saying we shouldn't do that. However, there's other components of it. We do not also want to put the cart before the horse. Putting the cart before the horse means that in the past we have heard, oh, Nigerians need to sacrifice, Nigerians need to sacrifice. But Nigerians have sacrificed. We have seen the fuel subsidy removed. More money is coming to the federation. And what we hear is that more money is going to the states. More money is going to the state government and the local government. But the money has not yet translated, has not gone into the hands of the people. So this 5%, we shouldn't make that same mistake. We should rather say this 5%, if we're going to do roads, if we're going to maintain our road, this is the structure and the framework upon which this would work. So we haven't seen that yet. So those are the questions that we are asking. And good enough, that provision in the law allows the minister to hold on until all of these things are in place.
Of course, we know government says they are targeting 796 billion annually just from petrol, this 5% tax. And if you also look at their argument that they want to boost non-oil sector and then use the proceeds to fund transport infrastructure, valid argument. What do you think about it? Don't you think that maybe we can also concede to them that it could also bring about positive change in the long run?
So there's an adage that says that the day that will be good, you will know from the dawn of the day, right? So clearly, what we have seen in practice from the amount that have been recovered, it has to be accounted for. We Nigerians need to know exactly. It is not rocket science. What we are saying is something that other countries are practicing, is what we have done in the past. We have seen subsidy being removed in the past, or part of subsidy being removed. We have seen elements of these kind of things in the past. And we saw how those monies or those amounts were ring-fenced and used for that purpose. What we do not want is that this amount, 1 trillion naira, almost 1 trillion naira, if you add the aviation fuel and all of that, it will exceed over 1 trillion naira. This amount is properly utilized, the framework to deal with it. So if you do not have that, then how are we sure that this argument would hold? How are we not sure that there will be more escalate? How are we not sure that a second presidential jet would not be on the offering? How are we not sure that a resident of one person, let's say the Chief Justice of the Federation, all of a sudden becomes worn out and we need to replace it? How are we not sure that one demand will just come up that Nigerians would not prioritize? But of course, the government can prioritize it, and the ordinary Nigerians would not definitely benefit from it directly. So what we are saying is, this amount, if it's going to be for this purpose, then let's ring fence it. Victor, I traveled recently and I saw some toll gates around our country. So some toll gates are already springing up across the country. So if these toll gates are springing up, that is also those monies are supposed to be used for maintaining our road infrastructure as well. So they'll be used for maintaining our road infrastructure. This money will be used for maintaining road infrastructure. Show Nigerians are very easygoing people. They will give you the latitude that they will allow you. But show Nigerians that this is what this money will be used, and this is the trust and confidence. If I were the president, I will set up a technical team that will make sure that this fund is accounted for. I will make sure that no politicians have a way around funds. They have a way of managing such funds and ensuring that politics comes to play in it. Who is my brother? Who is my sister? Who is managing it? Who is not there? Who is not there? Who is getting it? Which region is getting? Which region is not getting? So all those political elements has to be eliminated from this fund. Let this fund work. Until we have that in place, then the president and the team should hold on and put all of these structures and system in place before we can now make that argument. But more so, let the bigger fund, let the larger fund work. We already removed subsidy. We're making trillions of naira from that subsidy removal. Let that fund work. Let us see beyond just saying we're giving more states and local government funds.
What do you make of the argument that Nigeria pays almost the least in terms of pump price compared to other countries in the continent? At least about 33 out of 37, Nigeria pays the least in terms of pump price. Do you see it as a justification for this increase, this 5% tax?
Totally no. Let me tell you why. Nigeria may pay the least in terms of home price, but we have several other places that Nigeria is paying those taxes or those bills. From when you live here to when you get to your house, you can count how you are dealing with those. Is it healthcare? So healthcare, in these countries that you are mentioning, there's health insurance that is paid for. There's healthcare that is paid for by the government. Healthcare is expensive, so the government takes charge of it. So there's public healthcare that is functioning. Is it education? That your children do not pay for education up till after secondary school level. And even in tertiary institutions, citizens of those countries are heavily subsidized. The government pays for it. Is it support system to the families? I know people that stay in these countries, right? And the government sends them allowances or amount, depends on what they earn. So if you are below a particular bracket, you are sure of getting up to $1,000, up to $2,000, depending on what you earn per month. Per month. So the government subsidizes them. So clearly, if you then come to this country and you are saying that this is one small subsidy, form of subsidy, not necessarily subsidy, that we are doing. The second way to look at it is we are oil producing country. Yes, other ones are oil producing country. We should be comparing like for like. We should be looking at other countries like Russia. We should be looking at Kuwait. We should be looking at Cuba. Kuwait, Qatar. We should be looking at those countries that also produce oil. How much do they charge? If you want to look at it dollar for dollar, cent for cent, that is where we should be comparing with. So we should not be comparing ourselves with highly capitalist economy like the United States. But of course, the United States, they have one thing to. So it's a matter of give and take. The government invests heavily and subsidizes in some ways. So what is our government subsidizing that is quite visible and clear to everyone? That you know that every average Nigerian, poor Nigerian will benefit from it. So I don't buy that argument that our fuel is too cheap. I don't buy that argument. And the whole argument that it's too cheap and our neighbors are smuggling it. The tankers are they're not small vehicles. They're not jerry cans. The tankers are 30,000 liters. They are big trucks, they are smuggled through the borders, and we have customs, we have security agencies surrounding these borders, and they just allow them to go. Issues of accountability and corruption that we need to deal with within the system. And the citizens should not be made to pay the price of inefficiency of government.
Of course, the penalty for non-compliance, we are told, is from 10 million. That's the penalty for non-compliance. Does it justify why we should kick against it? Or do you think government has a point there?
So people should comply with the law, and that is why we're saying that the government needs to make it easy and make it easy for people to comply with. If you make it more difficult for people to comply with, then you will be ready to. I think one of the major things they said in this new tax act is they want to bring in more people into the tax bracket. Our tax bracket just needs to be expanded. Let us start with our politicians. they do not pay the right tax. Let us be frank with ourselves. We had a meeting with some tax officials and we had that conversation. And of course, they say that's political. They cannot delve into it. That's left for us as civil society to push it. You become a DG of a parastatal. Let's speak the truth, Victor. Even if these things are hidden under. You become a DG of some parastatals. The first 1, 2, 3 months, you get an allowance of 200 million for you to settle down. That amount is not taxed. That amount is not taxed. Then they say your salary is 800,000, but you get furniture allowance, you got newspaper allowance, you get wardrobe allowance. All those allowances are not put into the tax brackets. So all of those are supposed. So according to the tax law, those that will first go to jail and that will pay this 10 million or pay the penalty. And let's start with the government officials. Let the government officials lead by example. And the reason I am this passionate about it is ActionAid as an organization, our staff are crying about the amount of tax we pay. We pay our tax to the last 10 kobo. So they come here, they do audit and do check and all of that. They say, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. We keep improving. But for our salaries, we pay, we declare everything. There's no pay out of payroll. So everybody pays their tax, including myself. As a Nigerian, people should pay their tax. But the government has a responsibility to lead by example. The president should make example of some people and make sure the tax authority go after high government officials that are evading tax, including our senators and all of that. So if a constituency allowance, let's leave it at what Sani told us some years ago, 15 million naira per month. I'm sure it would be more than that now. But let's leave it at that. If 15 million naira is gotten as constituency allowance by our senators, for what purpose? Is that an income or is an expense? So if it's an expense, it's not supposed to be taxed. But the way it is run as an income. It goes and the senator has his or her discretion on how it is used. So that amount should be taxed. It is not the 700 and something or 800 and something or 1.2 million that they earn as salary. That's what you are taxing. That is no. We are not telling ourselves the truth. So yes, people should pay the price, and let's start with the government officials who are putting this law in place.
What do you even make of the revenue mobilization? Talking about increasing the remuneration of public office holders, that they are poorly paid.
I think the first thing to do is let's bring all the money into the basket. We are not putting all the monies in the basket. That's why we are having this argument. Why are they deceiving us? Why are they deceiving Nigerians, saying that they are poorly paid? Bring all the allowances and put them on the basket and say, this is what they earn. It is not tell us that the president earns less than a million or 1.2 million and the vice president. That's not what he earns. There are other allowances that the president gets. So if you pull all of them together, what does it come to on a monthly basis? So if his furniture allowance is 200 million, you divide it by 12, and you get portion of that as part of his. If his newspaper allowance is this, if his wardrobe allowance, you add everything. And let's say all of that comes to 500 million. It's 500 million divided by 12. That is what the president earns. That is what the Senate president earns. That is what the lawmakers, all of them earn. And that should be taxed. Then you cannot come back to us and say, are they poorly paid or not? But for what you are telling us, that the president earned 1.2, obviously 1.2 is poorly paid. If the president is earning 1.2, he's poorly paid. But we know that the president is not earning 1.2. We know that a DG, but it's like professors. We know that what the professor is paid is what they are paid. They are not expecting any other thing. So the professor does not end up to a million. We know that is what they get paid. And they find other means to get the right papers. They do researches and all of that. They find other means to augment their income. So if what they are actually paid is that 1 million, by all means, as civil society, we will support and say that they should increase their money. That also calls for a review of our living wage. The minimum wage that we call 70,000 is not a living wage. So that means that has to be reviewed. It means that 70,000, so maybe minimum wage for this country, for you to survive, minimum maybe at 200,000 naira, 250, 300,000 naira. Then we can then start talking about other people. But before you do that, like I said, every amount that they get outside their salary should be brought into the basket and declared and say, this is the total amount that this person, this government official gets. Then we can have that argument of increasing salary or not.